Hey, how's it going everyone? Good to see you. So here we are closing in on the end of another fantastic year of gaming. We're getting ready to enter the holiday season, which is where a lot of people get into a buyer's mood. They receive gift cards from their relatives, they get a nice overtime check at work, or their significant other straight up asks them, hey, what do you want for Christmas this year? Or your respective holiday that you celebrate that also happens to participate in the exchange of gifts, even though it may not be the main focal point of said holiday. It's 2017, all holidays matter, and I know someone would have gotten offended if I didn't follow up with this statement. Anyways, you settled on picking up a Nintendo Switch. You've seen all the hype videos on YouTube, Switch Gang this, Switch Gang that, and if the 40 videos that I've done on the Switch haven't, well, at the very least flooded your inboxes, they've got you thinking like, I might want to cop that. So here today, I've got a video for y'all. Now, unlike most people who do this sort of video where they detail the top 5 games you must own for Nintendo Switch, I'm not gonna do that. I actually wanna do something a bit more constructive. Not to throw shade, but those type of videos, especially for a console that's not even a year old, they're pretty much redundant because if you watch one of them, you've watched them all. However, if you guys are interested in games that I'd recommend for the Switch that aren't Zelda, that aren't Mario, and aren't a game that you probably already played on the Wii U, comment down below. What we are going to talk about today are my top must-own essentials for a Nintendo Switch. These are things that I personally use for the console. These are things that I think you'll be able to use to get the most amount of longevity out of the system. And unfortunately, the more and more you own Nintendo Switch, they kind of become mandatory outside of being optional. So let's start out with the very beginning. You want to pick up a Nintendo Switch. You found a place that sells the units. What's the next step? Well, thankfully, there's only one step you got to worry about, and that is choosing what color Joy-Con bundle you want. The Nintendo Switch currently as it stands has only one major SKU. There aren't really any variations when it comes to storage capacity, so whatever system you get, whether it's the gray Joy-Con bundle or the neon Joy-Con bundle, you're pretty much getting the exact same system. However, I do want to send out a word of caution. Even though I said there is one baseline model for the Nintendo Switch, there are bundles that exist from Nintendo. I'm here to tell you guys to avoid those bundles at all cost. Unlike bundles you'd see from Sony and Microsoft where they'd usually include a game, sometimes the retailer will include a controller, those bundles are meant to save you money. The Nintendo Switch bundles, on the other hand, yeah, anything but that. They're essentially the same price of getting a Nintendo Switch and a game. There's no price differences that come with it like Sony or Microsoft. You're basically paying for having all that stuff on the console itself. The games itself, to my knowledge, aren't even physical units, they're digital. So what money are you really saving going out and buying a Nintendo Switch bundle? If anything, you can actually get all the pieces of that bundle separately for cheaper prices. So avoid those bundles and just buy the system itself. So you think that you're ready to go, right? You've got the system, you're ready to walk out of Best Buy, or you're on Amazon and you're ready to hit complete order. No, stop, turn the fuck back around. There are a couple of things that you need that are crucial for Nintendo Switch, and we're gonna go from the most important to the least important. The first one, which is, honestly, this is required. I don't know why Nintendo didn't at least include one of these with the console, and that is a MicroSD cards. Like, the Switch itself, the console might seem attractive and appealing at a $299 price tag, especially compared to something like Xbox One X, but the system is not a $300 purchase. It is far from it. Since the storage capacity is so low at 32 gigabytes, even buying one of the major titles that came out this fall is going to warrant you to pick up more storage. Now, while this may sound like a bad thing, which it is, you have to spend extra money on a console that if you bought a PlayStation or Xbox, even if you're the most casual gamer, you can, like, the 500 gigabytes goes a long way. A casual gamer on Switch, that 32 gigs is going to be filled just like that, whether you download indie titles, Nintendo titles, or third-party games. You need extra storage. Thankfully, unlike the PlayStation Vita, where it used proprietary memory, which was just a disaster in and of itself, the Nintendo Switch uses microSD cards, and the microSD cards are, one of the best things about them is since they are so widespread and so mainstream, it really doesn't matter what kind of microSD cards you buy, because it's the same ones that you're going to be buying for your phone, or let's say you do a lot of photography work, you do YouTube videos, those microSD cards are going to be very good for the Nintendo Switch. It was a different story like 5-10 years ago where they had like the cheapest of cheapo microSD cards that were really not great. Nowadays, most of the microSD cards that you would see, the ones that are really popular on sale, the ones that are class 10, the ones that have the really high read and write speeds, those are mainstream across the board, whether you walk into a Best Buy or you're on Amazon.com. So you want to get one that is class 10. You want to get one that has a really high read and write speed, because it's going to be very crucial long term, whether you are playing the games physically, digitally, or you're doing a unique hybrid like me where I buy some games physical, some games digital. You want to have a really high quality, nice micro SD card. And the best part about them is that they are pretty cheap. Like the micro SD card that I bought, it was 128 gigabytes. It only cost $30. Now I've seen some prices vary depending on the brands like Samsung or SanDisk, but 128 gigabyte micro SD card I've seen at the most go for like maybe $40. Things might change, of course, with the holiday season. Maybe that's why they go on sale. But as it stands, you could pick up a really nice micro SD card for around 40 to 50 bucks. If you want to get more storage, of course, invest in a higher storage capacity like a 256 gigabyte micro SD card. And down the road, they're probably going to come out with the other high storage capacities like the 512. And I think at one point they will release a 1 terabyte micro SD card, because the Switch, to my knowledge, does support up to 2. But that is just an insane amount of storage, and I don't think anyone's really going to fill that up with the games on the Switch. But as it stands, get you a nice micro SD card. I will put a link down below to one that I recommend on Amazon. Now moving away from that, we're going to move into the next essential accessory, something that a lot of people might think is not a big deal, considering they look at the Switch and they think that, oh, this is a pretty competently built device, right? Yeah, until you get a look at the screen. The screen itself is, well, it's a tablet first and foremost, and you know what that means. It is exposed 24/7. So if you are going to want to use the Switch to its fullest capabilities, using it when you're on the go, you know there's a tendency for accidents to happen. Especially couple that with the fact that the Switch itself, even if you leave it alone, like when it's in docked mode, it has a tendency to scratch itself. So what that means is you gotta get yourself a screen protector. Again, like the micro SD cards. Thankfully, screen protectors are dirt cheap. This right here is a tempered glass screen protector, which is the only screen protector I'll use for Nintendo Switch. It came in a 2-pack on Amazon and it only cost $9. And this is a really high quality screen protector. This screen protector cleans really easily with a microfiber cloth. It doesn't introduce like weird viewing angle issues that a lot of cheapo screen protectors would have. And as it stands, man, I can barely feel and notice that this is on the system. It protects it when I'm taking it out from the dock. It protects it when it's in the case and it's traveling. And for a device that does not use Gorilla Glass in 2017, why, Nintendo? It is critically crucial. That sounded really cool. It's critically crucial that you guys go out there and buy this. And since it's so cheap and you get 2 of them, you have a spare for whenever this one wears out, you'll be fine. It was also really easy to apply as well, so you don't need all these crazy like soaking solutions and stuff that you'd have to use back in the day. I mean, if a person like me can apply this with no issues, then, you know, sky's the limit for y'all. Now moving into the last, I guess you can call this essential accessory. It's more so if you are using the Switch portably when you're in travel. As you guys know, the Switch is always exposed. It does not have a clamshell design like the Nintendo 3DS, so the tendency to scratch it or to scuff it or for it to fall is pretty high. And since it doesn't fit in your pockets, you know that this is probably going to be going in a bag. If you are going to bring the Switch in a bag, I recommend housing it with some type of carrying case. Now, this is all up to you. It all depends on what your personal preferences are. Some people do not like this bulky design right here, which has like all these extra accessories attached to it. Some people just like having a pouch so they can like throw it in the front pocket. Me, myself, and I'm not going to do that for a device that I spent $300 on, so I went the extra mile to buy this case right here, and you actually get a lot of bang for your buck with these sort of cases. Now, the cool thing about cases is, no matter which one you buy, they all pretty much range in the same price tag, and they all come with the same basic layout. This one right here has a nice convenient slot to place your Nintendo Switch. It has a strap right here to keep it in place, and the strap connects to the game cartridge holders, which, as you can see, I've already done a fair bit of work at filling up with all the titles here, and I have a backup right here as well. And then up top, you have a little pouch where you can host all kinds of accessories. I personally put the Joy-Con grips in there. Well, not the grips, the wrist straps. So whenever I'm playing 2-player mode with some people at work, we can put it on there for a somewhat more comfortable experience. Well, as comfortable as Joy-Cons can get. But you can put a couple of other things in there, like if you want to carry a spare set of headphones because the Switch does not include Bluetooth support, unfortunately. If you want to put an extra micro SD card, you can put a lot of things in this little pouch right here. So yeah, I recommend picking up a case. This thing right here only cost me $13, and like I said, the cases that are available for Switch, they vary tremendously. So if you want to get one that's more aesthetically pleasing, you could do that. If you want to get one that has more protection, you could do that. This thing cost me less than $20 and it protects the Switch just fine. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. So yeah, those things right there, micro SD card, screen protector, and a case are my top 3 must-own essentials when you pick up the system day one. Now, moving into some things that are not necessarily essentials and you need to get the most enjoyment out of the Switch, but they matter tremendously if you are playing the Switch and living the on-the-go lifestyle, more so than the person who plays it docked and then plays it outside for maybe an hour or so. They don't really need this. But for the person who's taking extended trips, person who's traveling across the world, you are going to need one of these things if you want to bring your Switch, and that is a battery bank. Now, here's the thing about battery banks. Like the micro SD cards, back in the day, they really weren't the best quality in terms of what performance you can get out of them. But nowadays, battery banks have evolved tremendously to the point where we could charge multiple devices at crazy speeds. It can support fast charging, and you really need to get a high quality one for the Nintendo Switch because this device right here, it sips battery like a crackhead, man. It's insane. So your old run-of-the-mill like 2,000 hour milliamp battery that you got, that's not going to work for the Nintendo Switch. You want to get one that's rated really highly, that can support all of these new methods of charging, and one that you can charge and play the system at the same time. I'm going to leave a link down below in the video description for one that I recommend from a company called Aukey. It is a 30,000 milliamp hour battery. This has more than enough space to charge your Switch multiple times for you to play the Switch and play it while it's charging. You can also charge your phones as well. This thing is just insane. I've yet to charge it, and I've already used it for the Switch on 2 occasions. That is just freaking phenomenal for a battery bank, being able to play and charge a high capacity device at the same time. And like I said, this will vary tremendously. There are different alternatives in Aukey. You can get like a 20,000 hour milliamp battery. It just all comes down to like the speeds at which it charges and how it's able to handle like multiple devices. Like just because something has a higher milliamp does not mean it's going to be good. In some cases, the way it distributes the power going from the bank into the device, you might not be getting the full charge out of it. So definitely look into and read the reviews on battery banks. Now, if you're not a person who really needs a battery bank, if you think that a battery bank isn't really low profile, there are Nintendo Switch battery grips that attach to the console. Those are cool and everything. I mean, if you don't want to carry an extra battery with you, I understand that. It does create artificial heft to the console, so it might not fit in some of your cases. But it is an alternative for some people who just want to take the Switch and have the battery charged and not have to worry about plugging an extra connector. Because if you're playing the Nintendo Switch in docked mode, as you guys can see, you cannot charge it and play at the same time unless you have a stand or unless you're holding it like this, which, as you can surmise, is going to get extremely comfortable very fast. So you can buy one of those. They are a little bit more expensive in terms of what you get with those as opposed to a standalone battery bank, but they are an alternative that exists. I just personally would have recommended. I'd actually have you spend the money on something else where you can get more longevity and you can do a lot more with it than something that's just proprietary for the Nintendo Switch. And then from there, like I said, there are a couple of things that you can pick up. There is a stand by Hori. It retails for I think around $9, $10, $11, where you can mount your Nintendo Switch and you could charge and play at the same time. But again, that is something that you don't really need. It's not something that is essential. It's only if you want to get the most enjoyment out of it when you are playing in handheld mode. And there are other things as well, like charging stations for the Joy-Con grips and things like that. But I personally wouldn't recommend them because unless you are living the Nintendo Switch commercial lifestyle where you are playing it with your families and you have like 8 Joy-Cons around the house, you're not really going to be in a situation where you need to have spare Joy-Cons and you just need to play them immediately because the Nintendo Switch charges the Joy-Cons whenever you put it in the docked mode. So it's kind of like, how are you going to be in a situation where your Switch is charged but your Joy-Cons aren't? You understand what I'm saying? There is, however, one accessory that I will recommend wholeheartedly if you are more of a core gamer, if you play a lot of Nintendo Switch, or if you're someone who just plays it in docked mode and you want to get the best gaming experience possible, and that is looking into the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. I already did a full video on it, unboxing and doing my first impressions, but the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, is quickly rising the ranks into some of my favorite controllers of all time, just because of how comfortable it is and how insane the battery is. The battery on the system, I've owned this for almost a month, and I'm on like that last little charge. That's from playing it extensively, playing Xenoblade Chronicle for like 2 to 3 hours at a time. That's freaking phenomenal. It's great, especially for a rechargeable battery, getting 40 hours of use, only having to charge it like maybe once a month. What more can you ask for? The Nintendo Switch Pro Controller is a great investment. Yes, it is $70, so you are going to be shelling out a little bit more money compared to a DualShock 4 or Xbox controller. But I think that what you're getting out of the Nintendo Switch long term with this controller, you will definitely see the benefits, and it is worth the $70. It sucks that it's such a high price tag, but this is Nintendo. It's the company that dances to the beat of their own drum. If they can release something at a premium price, oh, you know they're going to go premium and a half. But yeah, guys, those are all of my recommendations for the Nintendo Switch. As far as essentials go, if you are buying the system, microSD card is a must. There's no if, ands, or bust. I don't care what people say. You are going to need a microSD card. It is a given. Screen protector if you want to protect the system. Carrying case if you are playing it portably. Those three things all together are probably going to run you, depending on how much you spend, close to $100, which brings the Switch to around $400. Again, like I said, it's not the worst thing in the world, considering once you buy those, you don't have to really invest in other things, but it is something worth mentioning for a person who's buying the Switch for the first time, or a parent who's buying it for their kids. You are going to need these things if you want to protect the system. So, you know me, I keep it real, unlike some of the Nintendo fanboys on here who are going to sell you lies to further their Switch gang agenda or whatever. Anyways, list down below some of your must-own accessories for the Nintendo Switch. Comment down below, let me know. For me, for now, my name is NGS, signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.